do have a CeeDee Lamb stat of the day for you before we do the over-under on his season stats. So including the playoffs, receiving touchdowns since 2020, CeeDee Lamb is tied for first with a surprise name, at least to some extent it is, Gabe Davis.
That is a stunning name.
Mike Bassick's Gaby. Remember he loved Gaby after his his incredible game in Arrowhead a couple of years ago.
He
had like 4
AFC
touchdowns.
Championship game, right? Was it that one?
I believe.
When they lost, right?
The
one they
the
lost.
overtime, like quarterback duel, 13-second touchdown scoring by the Chiefs, just Bills meltdown kind of deal. And then the Bills lose in overtime, but Gabe Davis had a bunch of touchdowns in that game. So Gabe Davis and CeeDee Lamb both have 33 touchdowns since 2020. And then it's Jamar Chase at 32 and then Justin Jefferson at 30. But I just wanted to give you that because now we have the Bet Online giving us the regular season stats here over under CeeDee Lamb. And I think the question now is how comfortable you are with CeeDee Lamb and the holdout and how long that could be. And then what could, if he's missing majority of training camp, does that always inevitably just lead to some level of soft tissue injury? Now, he hasn't been Mr. Injured guy at all, and CeeDee Lamb is super hardworking guy, always getting better year in, year out. So maybe those same rules don't necessarily apply to him. But I think that's the only question on whether or not you would, like, if you're going to take the under on any of these, because like his receptions, 115.5.
115.5.
Would you go over there? I think that's a no-brainer over if we're talking about healthy CeeDee Lamb.
That's almost 7 catches a game. I'll say under slightly.
You're going to go under for that? I mean,
Slightly.
He had 135 last year. And this is a team that is probably going to be chasing points more so than usual. Probably don't have a running game.
I don't know.
My holdup with the under, I'm sorry, my holdup going over, because I do think over is the easy money, but my holdup is how long is he holding out?
I don't think that's the issue. I think the issue is like CeeDee has developed a certain reputation where I think a lot of defenses this year are going to go, we will let anyone else beat us on your team. Mm-hmm. Anyone else is beating us except that guy.
But they didn't think of that in week 4 last year and do the rest of the year? I mean, like
I think that there were no. I think that reputation developed by about midway through the season, but I think that there's just going to be an entire approach that says Brandon Cooks at 31 years old, Jake Ferguson, your running game, that's what's going to have to beat us because we're bracketing CeeDee. And he'll still get his. He'll still put up a lot of numbers, but there's just going to be times where Dak's going to look at it and go, it's doubled. I'm not throwing that.
Yeah, but I also think the CeeDee Lamb versatility of where they move him around, and credit to them because especially after week 5 or whatever of last year, it was plenty of motion and plenty of moving CeeDee. Like it's tough for defenses to account for where he's going to be on a play-to-play basis because he's just as good on the boundary as he is in the slot. So I think that you can create easy opportunities. Boom, we got to get our guy the football here.
So last year, we went out to Oxnard July 25th.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 1, 2. Zach Martin came back on August 14th. That was 3 weeks he missed a camp.
Yep.
If CeeDee, and he admittedly has said that he thinks that impacted his year last year.
Mm-hmm. Now, he's obviously older, bigger, so
absolutely
the wear and tear, but I get what you're saying.
If CeeDee misses 3 weeks of camp, I might take the under.
Yeah, I think
because if you look at the guy, I mean, baseball. Snell, Montgomery missed a ton of camp this year. They're having awful years, or they're injured. Zach Martin missed 3 weeks of camp last year. Same thing.
Remember,
now it's different, right? Obviously, like whatever your name is, Eric said, bigger guy, older guy, and then in the case of Snell and Montgomery, pitchers are just different. Receivers. CeeDee's a much better athlete than
CeeDee's remained working with Dak, I think, a lot this offseason, too. Zach Martin did not have a healthy Terrence Steele next to him, which is somebody who works with. And the other thing was, you got to remember, they had a new offensive line coach in there that Zach Martin didn't get any work with for the first 2 weeks. Whereas the offense is a little, like, everything's in place from last year, and he continues to be in communication with Dak. Yeah, so I think it's a little different.
But my point would be maybe from an injury standpoint, that might impact him. Maybe. That would be my only holdup. Otherwise, I'm hammering the over on that one.
Hammer.
Me too. I mean, 135 receptions last year for CeeDee Lamb. I think the only thing that keeps him from getting over the 115.5 is some level of injury. I mean, the dude had 181 targets last year. So I would expect him to still be sort of force-fed the ball to some extent.
Zeke wasn't here, though.
They move. That's true. The Zeke touches could get a little bit out of hand. But do you guys also agree with the idea that they probably aren't going to have much of a running game?
No, they're definitely not going to have much of a running game.
So you're going to be throwing the heck out of the ball. And at least like us on G-Bag, we gave them, I think we put them as a show, win-loss.
7.
Like 9. I think we did 9 and 8.
No, y'all were under 500. It was like 8 and 9.
No, we
100% you were.
No, I know for a fact we were not under 500. It was, I will almost guarantee you it was 9 wins. But either way, 9 wins or under 500, same thing. Our perspective on this team is they are not going to be as good of the 12-win type regular season team that they've been over the last few years. And so there's a decent chance that you're seeing this team having to sort of chase points in second halves of games or in fourth quarters, and then that's more passing. Hopefully it's not to the extent of the Packers game where you're completely blown out and now you're just wasting garbage time stats all over the place.
Yeah, they only lost by 16.
But, yeah, I know. And Dak threw for like 400 yards. It was pretty special. But I do think you're going to be chasing points to some extent. You have no rushing attack. And CeeDee Lamb is a bona fide super beast who, let's not forget, his stats, I mean, the counting numbers, I know, Choppy, but these things are getting better every single year. Every year, more touchdowns than the year before. Every year, more yards than the year before. Every year, more receptions than the previous year. So this dude just keeps getting better and better. So barring injury, I think over 115.5 receptions for him is a no-brainer.
Okay, so we joke about, like, we were just joking about the idea that, well, Zeke's here. So, you know, that's going to change things for CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, he's going to be a touchdown vulture.
One thing that I do wonder, and I'm going to try and find it really quickly before we get out of this segment, is somebody did just send in this text of 3rd and short, Zeke better be eaten. That is a thought process, though, is that they did not 3rd and 3 last year. They didn't have anybody that they irrationally trusted every time. Just, we'll give it to him. 3rd and 3, that's where he eats. 3rd and 2. If the 3rd and 3 short is...
3rd and 3 is a tough one.
I got to see what 3rd and 3, like, I got to see how many of those targets ended up being potential, like, targets to CeeDee Lamb, where they're just pick up a first down, 3rd and 3, because we don't trust our running game. Where now they would probably trust, well, Zeke can handle the short yardage stuff. Like, I do wonder if that would potentially eliminate some touches for him.
3rd and 3 is a tough down. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, those are obvious. Those are really good rundowns. 3rd and 3, I'm scared to death running the ball on 3rd and 3.
Okay, so CeeDee Lamb last year on 3rd and 3 or shorter was targeted. It wasn't that much, but he had 7 catches, 9 targets on 3rd and 3 or short.
That's it?
Mm-hmm.
So,
I mean, you got to think about, though, like, how many times are you facing 3rd and 3 or shorter and passing the ball in general?
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, especially shorter.
Now, it was almost all of it was exclusively after November. Like it was November on. He didn't hardly get any in the first 2 months of the season, probably because they were still trying to make the running game work.
Well, also the first handful of games of the season was the old.
Well, that was Mike McCarthy calling plays, and when Dak took over, he was like, "We're not doing this. We're actually going to come into the modern era," and we'll, oddly enough, end up saving Mike McCarthy's job by accident.
Let's see Ferguson's numbers on 3rd and 3 or shorter.
The funny thing is looking at the Zeke rushing success on short yardage situations, because that is more
not as good as you would expect.
Yeah, the narrative is like, oh, this is a dude that's definitely gonna, when you need 2 yards, he's getting you 2 yards. I mean, last year, 3rd and 4th down, 2 yards or less to go, Zeke had a rushing success rate of 55%. His 9 attempts resulted in an average per carry of 1.7. When you look at Tony Pollard, his success rate on 3rd and 4th down with 2 yards or less to go just last season, which was not the best version of Tony Pollard, still 20% better on success rate than Zeke was last year. And out of his 15 attempts, it was almost 4 yards per carry. Again, Zeke's was well under 2 yards per carry. So the short yardage dominator that is Ezekiel Elliott is a bit of a fallacy.
Jake Ferguson on 3rd and 3 or shorter last year had 4 targets and 1 catch.
That's a missed opportunity. I mean, that's a bad percentage, but I think tight end on a short yards like that's Great option.
Ugh, man, they missed some 3rd and 3 and short stuff last year. Gallup was 1 for 4. Ferguson was 1 for 4. Cooks was 2 for 4. I mean, it was basically CeeDee if they were going to throw it. He had by far the most targets there.